Today, a review of The Familiar of Zero, a show which revolves around a young girl named Louise, a magician so terrible at casting magic that she is known as Louise the Zero by her peers. On the day of her test to summon a familiar to be her servant, she instead gets Saito, an ordinary Japanese boy. The show focuses around Saito as he learns about the nobles and peasants, as well as his relationship to his new master, Louise. The two main characters of the show are Hiraga Saito, who after being transported to the magical world is quick to pick fights with the nobles and pretty clueless about the social hierarchy, which can get a little annoying at times, and Louise, who often tries to prove herself in terms of nobility and magic, as well as try to bail Saito out after he does something socially inappropriate, and later punishing him as part of the main gag. But as the story progresses, she starts to warm up to Saito, though how it is executed in the story is done a little poorly. Now, along with the two main leads, we also have Kirke, Louise's rival and the token fan service character. Tabitha, Kirke's friend who is a complete and total prodigy when it comes to magic. Guiche, the completely vain, over-the-top rich boy. And Siesta, a maidservant who becomes Saito's friend, but serves only to cause tension between Saito and Louise, or to spout exposition. Now, first thing I'd like to say is, if you're going to watch the show, watch it with English subs. Not because the subs are better, but because the dialogue is just so terrible regardless of the language, that if you're going to watch it, you might as well have some distance in terms of the language to watch it. The show is mostly just a generic fish out of water story, while trying to tell cliché messages about the aristocracy and peasantry, which could have been used very well, providing an outsider perspective with Saito. But Saito isn't a very interesting character, and is not very intelligent, so he never provides any real substantial inputs on the matter, which is very disappointing. The show also mentions that Saito wants to get back home, but they never really provide a reason for that. They never show a flashback of Saito with his family or friends. I mean, sure, it's easy to relate to someone that wants to go back to their home, but they never provide a reason why he wants to go back, which can be very frustrating, especially in a world that is so spectacular and has magic. Something else that is poorly executed about the show is the romance between Louise and Saito. For a romance to work, the couple must be presented as equals, and if they aren't, it just feels forced and incomplete. Throughout the show, the master and servant relationship between Louise and Saito is reinforced, with Saito even admitting at one point that he accepts the role as the servant. It also doesn't help that Louise often is portrayed as an enabler for Saito's bad or stupid behavior. The friendship between Kirke and Tabitha, or even the relationship between Guiche and his girlfriend, works so much better than the relationship between Saito and Louise. And keep in mind that these characters are one-note stereotypes. A good amount of conflict between Saito and Louise just feels forced. It doesn't really pertain that much to the plot. The only time it really serves any purpose is during the final 2 episodes of the show, which comes with a lousy payoff. The animation for the action scenes is not terrible, but it's nothing impressive and can get distracting sometimes, as more things start to happen on screen. However, the animation and art style really work when it comes to the comedy aspects of the show. The jokes and slapstick are well timed, and I would have rather seen more of the comedy aspects than listen to characters spout exposition about things that the audience grasp implicitly. The only other thing I can praise the show for is its music. It's well-paced and suits the setting and mood quite well, and keeps the viewer immersed without breaking flow most of the time. However, the only other thing I can say was terrible about the show was the ending. It has plenty of build-up, but the payout just involves the characters pulling out some random power that's only hinted at throughout the show, through practically God-in-the-Machine-like means, which can leave the viewer pretty frustrated. Ultimately, while The Familiar Zero does have some fun comedy, it's ultimately brought down by not being able to focus on one genre, such as the comedy or romance aspects of the show. They tried to do so many things at once that they ended up failing at everything. Overall, I give this a 3 out of 10.